Incense. Pretty good. Alright, what is going on, guys? Welcome to Purgatory, and hopefully you enjoyed that intro to the video. Today, we are celebrating the 1-year anniversary of Splatoon 3. If you guys don't know, the game was released on September 9th of 2022. How we're celebrating it today is by reacting to the Splatoon 3 Direct and see how much has changed, and kind of give a bit of, I guess, reminiscence towards the end. So stay tuned to the end. I'm hopefully going to try to cut this all down. We're not going to be a full 30 minutes, but if you want to see my thoughts at the end, you can skip to this timestamp that I'll put up on screen now, and if I even do it. So yeah. Anyways, so this direct happened on August 10th of 2022. So it was still a bit of time until we got the game. It was had a little bit of a less of a month to get the game, but even then, when the game launched, it was about where we saw it right here. So we're gonna react to it, and yeah, the aesthetics here were so cool.
Splatsville, in the heart
Splatsville,
of the
man.
Splatlands. Despite its old-fashioned appearance, it's seen enormous growth in recent
I haven't looked at this lobby in a while. I'm still in the Inkopolis lobby, even though during Sizzle season I said I would swap back and forth between seasons. Come on, man, you forgot to introduce your Squid Research Lab, man. I haven't heard her talk in a while. So it was always the basics, but this is kind of like our very first look at the game, even though it was basic as hell.
Of course, what goes for the Inklings also applies to the Octolings. We're sure of it.
This is when they confirmed this is actually pretty huge. I felt like people didn't think they were gonna let them make Octolings like some kind of DLC again, but I don't know, it was a weird thing to like not expect, at least for me. That's how I was. So Turf War, we obviously know what we're talking about. This is like our first look at like proper intro screens. 52 gal charger. This map is about the same. The only thing that's not changed here is the car on the stick. That was a little bit after the launch. Oh yeah, you can even swim in your ink. I like how they advertised it, but then you played the game and there was not very many inkable walls. Like, look at all that. You could at least make a little bit of that inkable. At least that platform on the left over here. This one, behind this, that platform right there, and this wall right here, they could make inkable. I remember when the Splatfest happened. Oh, the fact that they also showcased this movement was sick. Also this. Sorry, I'm getting a little distracted, but again, if they ever overhaul the maps, it's great. This is also a great thing. They actually told you, that's what that is like, oh, here's another thing that you probably wouldn't have really noticed until you played. The stages. Man, the reception on this, man. They all looked great from this perspective. Great map though. I do like Undertow Spillway. I think it's actually a pretty good map. This was our first time seeing Hagglefish, so I still love the aesthetic, but I love the city in the background. That's where Crab Lake Capital is too. Oh yeah, so I think we already had this confirmed. Still one of the best maps in the game currently, besides Crab Lake and Shipshape, I would say. Oh man, Hammerhead Bridge. I remember when people... Oh man. They even said in the story, Greater Inkopolis, so they could somehow... Mahi Mahi Resort. I like this map. I understand why some people don't, but I personally love it. But man, Hammerhead is probably one of the worst maps in the game, and people are so excited about it. Like, oh, it's finished! That's sick! And then it is just the worst. 12 maps at launch was pretty cool. Our first look at Flounder. And I want to stop it right here. Look at this design, man. Like, something had to have happened shortly after this game launched. Because this map, we all thought, at least I thought, that these were going to release at the same season. This was a new map. This was a remake. But then instead, I think we got Brine Water, and then this map, and then we got Umami. But it looked nothing like this. This was probably one of the disappointing things I saw, because this looks good. Outside of, I don't know, it was very disappointing whenever I saw that they changed it. I still love the map. I love its aesthetic. I still think it plays pretty decently well. I like its open feeling, even though the sides feel a little... It feels like you can fall off the map real easily, but I still love the stage itself. But I wish we had this version. That's the only thing. Anyways, it is what it is. Hopefully they rework it and we see that old version that they did. Weapons. This was the first time, I think. Yeah. N-Zap, 96 Gal Spider Shot. Then this is like one of our other first looks into the newer designs. Stringer. This was announced when I think the game was announced. So that makes sense. This is when we learned about this, the Splatoner. Splatoner.
This is the Splatana Wiper.
The Splatana Wiper. We did not know about the Splatana Stamper, I think, until the game launched, or I think when Splatfest happened. The Charge Slash, dude, I remember this was huge. Like, oh, Charge Slash, that's kind of cool. But does it... I remember my live reaction, I was like, oh, that would be so cool if they could make you one-shot with it. If you're point blank with somebody, and then they showed that. That was sick. Oh, yeah, the Zipcaster, Crab Tank, the Trizuka. We won't be seeing Super Chump or Kraken in this though, but I think this is my first time seeing Killer Whale. I think this is when I got very concerned. I was like, oh no, Tacticooler. That one was brand new, but I love this section that they did.
They come in packs of 4, so take one and share the rest with your teammates.
So good. I love it. I remember looking at this, I was like, oh, this is just echolocator, but it's actually balanced. I love how they also tell you how to counter it. They tell you directly on the YouTube video. Like, hey, this is how you counter that. Jump over the thing. People were pissed when you saw 10 missiles, and this is at the time when it was still good at launch. Still good at launch, too. Ultra Stamp. Very underwhelming when it released, but it's pretty good now, I would say. I love how organized these things are. Even though it's just the exact same thing, this is how we learned about, oh, grinding for something else rather than just using your cash to buy weapons. So this one pretty much just explained it. I think we can kind of skip this, really. This next part that they show is pretty sick, too.
If you exchange more Sheldon licenses than normal, it appears he'll give you a weapon you like sooner than expected as a special reward.
Yep, if you just had 3, you got something when you're not the level. And they did a thing, I don't know if they ever talked about it in here. This animation I don't think we ever saw ever again. It's very animated. Oh yeah, they announced the fact that if you had a Splatoon 2 save, you could transfer that save over to Splatoon 3, and you would get 3 Sheldon license, you would get access to ranked early, but your matchmaking, they even tell you straight up, your matchmaking will be where we think it was in Splatoon 2. It's like, so you're already getting paired with that group, that pretty big group of people that were better or worse than you. It was protecting the noobs, but keeping the integrity of the online experience for returning players, like hardcore player base. So thank God for that. And these are our stores. The one thing that changed here I forgot to mention is the fact that I think there's 9 items instead of 6. Oh, Mr. Coco, I remember when we showed this. Yep, this was the introduction to merch and all this stuff, and this was our first time seeing merch like all grown up, which is still pretty cool. I still prefer Ankopolis. And I forget his name right now. Oh yeah, this is when we learned about pretty much class setups, I call them. But freshest fits, there's like stuff that you can save. This was a big deal. Oh yeah, I forgot they were gonna show off the lobby. That's how you knew it was a big change. The font looks a little different there. Tower control. There's Splat Zone, tower control, they seemed about the same, but then this is when we saw, the first time we saw Rainmaker be different. We're like, what is going on? And then the clams, people would analyze this and see that it only took 8 clams to make a ball. I loved the fact that they made a solo queue only playlist. Part of me doesn't really like that you can stick with the team though, because then that just makes it to where you can have a stacked team just roll through lobbies. But even then, that's fine. I don't really. It's not a huge deal to me. I think my preference would be test range. All this stuff is brand new. I'm talking over it, but this part was brand new. The fact that you could join people, like, all of this was new. Like, the sheer upgrade that this was much bigger than we thought. You go back to the other games and you're just like, oh my goodness. Yeah, and you can invite your friends. And there was that whole corner, and I think this was even before the jukebox. So they had the challenge and anarchy power thing on they added that, and Very recent season though. I think Sizzle season. Oh yeah, battle replays. Dude, this was a huge deal too. It was so good for content creators. It's a little limited, but it was much better than not having it at all. And the fact that it's the smoothest, I think, like theater system we've ever seen in a game in a while. Yeah, uploading, being able to watch other people's replays is huge. The locker system, I love this. As much as I would have wished we had apartments, this was still really cool too. Gosh, this has been expanded too. All these changes were just so good. This is more customization. Oh yeah, Atlantis. We didn't really like think about her at one point until we started looking at album covers that were in the game files of Splatoon 2. Like, if you go listen to a song on Splatoon 2, you see the artwork, you notice that Harmony is on a lot of the album arts, especially for one of the bands I can't remember the name of. But the music that she was involved in were the best. Also, hold on. So this was our first time knowing about the banners, but dude, this guy had got the 5 stars on everything. I know it's like a modded account that needs to have everything unlocked to show the game, but man, my man grinding, dude, he's repping the 5-star splatter shot. Love that. Well, that's a 4-star. That was right there. Yeah, the titles. This brand new. They spoiled us with this game. People hate on this game sometimes, but you gotta remember, they spoil us. The emotes, those were brand new. We always saw the same animation. Catalog, a battle pass was cool. I already knew it was gonna happen too. Well, that's on this season's battle pass. Those headphones. Spring, summer, autumn, same stuff. We're still kind of on that because most of the season start in the first. We didn't hear a dang thing about this mode until now. Like, I remember when they revealed this, everybody's like, but it was so welcome. Because now there's a hardcore community behind it. Like, there's tournaments on this. It's so cool. I loved it. This was a fantastic idea. They didn't have to do this, but they did. They did do it. I think this is our first time. This is our first time, I think, seeing Fission. Hydro Plant. One of the best maps in the game. This is so much prettier than Splatoon 2. It's actually kind of crazy. This game, I remember looking at it, I was like, this looks sharp, this looks clean. And then the game came out and it looked sharper and cleaner. And you're like, what? How did they do this on a Nintendo Switch? Wow, Salmon Run is pretty frame ratey. Oh yeah, the boss salmon is just when they... So all these... This guy's brand new. Dodge rolling in this mode is so fun. I'm so glad that movement is here. Like, the movement in the egg throw benefited this so much. Big Shot. He is probably one of the most annoying. Especially if you don't take care of him. God, Nintendo took that idea of like the wave breaker thing and just launched. They took off with it. They took the idea and then just went further. It's fantastic. Oh yeah. Oh my god, that sounded bugged. What was that?
This is one of the new King Salmonids.
The Kohozuna, this is the time. This is before Boris. We only had this guy. Such a blob. He's literally just Kirby, but huge. Also this, I remember when they announced this, I was like, oh my god. Gosh, I wish this happened more often, man. It literally does happen once every... Oh my god, relax. Single player? They're covered in hair, I guess. Oh yeah, they had stick controls on that. Then they have motion. You can tell they had different staff members.
Story mode is perfect for getting familiar with inking turf and using weapons.
I loved how they clarified on that, yeah. Newer players, try out the campaign, get a hang of the game. It literally teaches you everything you need to know. At like a pretty good pace, too. Oh, those 2 cutscenes, no way. A lot of stuff that, then they started showing stuff that we kind of knew it was returning. This was cool though. We saw you can actually walk around in the shoal now. Oh yeah, in photo mode in the lobby. This is before we could get it on Recon.
This is the Recon Guide. Select your favorite stages at any time and take a stroll.
Yeah, this is okay. Yeah, this. I remember when they.
Why not get familiar
What was that audio?
Prior to battles?
That was a weird bug, huh?
Crust.
The Wonder Crust,
Support this
man,
foe's
I
turn
am
using
so
invoice
upset
earned
about.
depending on the
They
areas you
stopped
aimed
supporting
during
it.
battles.
They did
Or
like 3
do
chapters,
history
and
to
they
take a trip
pretty much
down
just give
memory
you
lane with your past
Krusty
reps.
Sean's outfit, like him, like his character, but like as an outfit.
You can
And that's it.
and more for your
They
smart
they
device.
could have done more.
So be sure.
But it does give you
It
cool stuff
appears
like
that
wallpapers
Splatnet 3
and
will be available
all that kind of
at
stuff, but they
launch via the
haven't
Nintendo
updated it to
Switch
the
Online
recent
mobile
stuff,
app.
which is very. It's a bummer, man. I
Save
have
your favorite gear combinations as fresh
these
as
two.
kids will allow you to
I
easily
have these
swap
2 amiibo.
outfits.
I love them, dude. They're on display at all times. There they are. I didn't get that one. I think it was out of stock at the place I went to, but I also could only afford 2, so I just got Small Fry and the Inkling Girl. I like how it's just showing a full game of Rainmaker. Oh yeah, X Battle.
And League Battle.
League Battle.
Every 2 hours
See,
you can
that
compete in
that was a
challenges
huge
based on
change. So
Anarchy
League Battle is
results.
not League Battle
But
anymore.
then
It's the new
added in
challenge
future
mode that they
updates.
have. But then instead they just made
Furthermore,
open
for this
Anarchy
game,
Battle
we're planning
open.
to add large-scale
Oh yeah,
paid
large scale
DLC.
paid DLC,
More
which
details
is the
will come
Splatoon
at a
3
later
expansion
time,
packs.
so
It's the
watch.
challenges now, which I still think is kind of disappointing. Nintendo are taking risks. They're doing something different, which I can respect them for, and that's about it.
Huh?
Also,
Who are you
this.
supposed to be?
A lot of us were like, what are the new idols? Is it just Off the Hook again? Or Squid Sisters again, maybe? Nope. We got a trio.
Completely
that
forgot to
that
tell you
reminds me.
about Deep Cut.
What team are you on
That
for the
incredibly
Splatfest? The
popular trio
Splatfest,
who
as of the
hosts
time of
Splatoon news
uploading this, the
programs
Splatfest is
and
happening right now.
Podcast.
For who would be the best leader, Shiver, Fry, or Big Man. I'm on Team Big Man, but I would not be upset if Team Fry, if Fry won, great. Dethrone, that would be a huge
While we're on
hit
the
to
subject,
Shiver's team right now.
Scottsville owns
So for the
CQ
just for
Thunderbirds.
competition's sake, that would be sick if Fry or Big Man won, because I think Shiver needs to come down a little bit. If you're on Team Shiver though, I don't care. All right, don't go on Splatoon Twitter right now when it comes to the Splatfest. Anyway, so they were showing off the Splatfest here, which is cool. This is like we've got to see the city. I kind of wish they didn't show this part, simply because of the fact that I wanted to be surprised whenever a Splatfest happened, especially waiting for that DLC, not the DLC, what they're announcing here pretty soon, with that early access like beta, the test fire or whatever they call it, the Splatfest world premiere. I kind of wish they waited for that and then do like a sneak peek view of the characters in like a cool little setting, but don't show the entire city. It was cool because they showcased the song, and this was like a really cool moment. I remember smiling kind of at this moment. It was awesome because when this game launched, it was just so special. I don't know. It's kind of hard to describe it. But yeah, our first look at the maps at night, which was great.
Turf war battles. The second half,
This was so cool when we learned about it.
Tricolor Turf War. It's a special
Sturgeon
mode
Shipyard.
where- Whoa!
I think that's what it was called. Sturgeon. I know it's Sturgeon was the first one, but they changed this so much. And I get it, because on paper this sounds fine, and also I don't know, man. I will say I don't like the mirror matches that we keep getting, because you get a lot of mirror matches, but this matchmaking did really suck for this mode because of the fact that there's 3 different pools of players. The same player. You don't matchmake against, at the time, you didn't matchmake against Shiver, like whatever team you're not on. Kinda, I don't know, this is weird. This gave us like a look into the news, pretty much, and the fact that we could skip it. They actually showed that earlier. There's a lot of good that I think still came to the game, but I think after post-launch, Nintendo kind of fumbled the ball a little bit with its post-launch updates. I think the challenges, while a major W I still think they're probably the biggest L that this game has taken. They're probably the most disappointing thing for me in terms of the post-launch stuff, because I was hoping they would keep this in either a constant rotation or make it like a weekly thing. It's like every weekend you get on the game, play some challenges. But no, it's 2 hours for 3 different sessions at very kind of awkward-ish times. But That must be what their peak player counts look like, so I'm not entirely sure. That's probably the only disappointing thing about this game for me, like the biggest disappointment. Sure, when the game came out and we all realized that half the maps in this game were not very good, especially really only the Splatoon 3 maps. I'm gonna mute this because it's screaming kid. Um, I personally do like the maps. I don't think they're bad at all. I think they're actually quite fun to play on at points. But there's a lot of improvement like that could definitely be handed to them. Like there's the one time that they updated the maps a little bit to kind of have to lessen the amount of long range engagements, and that was kind of like a nerf to Charger and Crab Leg, really. That's really all they did. While that was a positive change, I personally believe so. It was more or less not that impactful when it comes to the flow of the games. Because chargers could still pop off, it just made it harder for them to reach across certain points of the map from certain positions. Mincemeat's change being the worst, and that's how the Wahoo pole meme spawned, which is probably one of the best memes surrounding this game. For it's such an insider joke because it's specific to an update that happened in the game, not like anything that happened in a trailer or whatever. So that's the hugest thing. I think the introductions of the catalogs was a good change. I think its post-launch has been really good up until I think recently. The catalog here has been a little disappointing, but even then, it was not really much of a huge thing. It was like, oh, you got some cool items for playing the game, and it was just another way of grinding the game, and I was okay with that. And the fact that I didn't have to pay a dime for it made it even better because whenever money gets involved, I go, okay, why do I want to buy this? Like, why would I want to buy this if it just gives me items for a locker and then maybe some titles? And yes, there is gear, but it's like the gear. I don't know. It was one of those like the only good part about them was really the gear. So, but even then, I wouldn't justify a purchase just for some clothes. I don't know. Well, I don't know. Especially, I think that one's kind of a touchy kind of subject because if the clothes were cool and like you actually got cooler items that could be used in a much wider spectrum of the game, a much wider just area of the game, I should say, then yeah, I think it would be kind of cool. But yeah, no, at the end of the day, I think catalog is a perfectly good system or a perfectly fine system. I just, it could be improved even in its nitpicks. So I think the weapon balance for this game has gotten a lot better. I think majority of the buffs and nerfs that we got were positive changes for the game. So Nintendo is looking at the data and the feedback that we had, because there's a lot of things we go, this needs to be nerfed. Like, it feels like this is a little unfair. In the next update, we usually see something about it. There's still some things that need to get nerfed or need to get buffed or at all that kind of stuff. But for the most part, they've pretty much listened to a lot of it because they nerfed they nerfed the sloshing machine when it was insanely good. It's still, and the fact that it's still pretty good, it's just not overpowered anymore. It was great. The fact that they nerfed Crab Tank because it's literally one of the best specials in the game. If anybody had a Crab Tank, you were screwed. Now Splash-O-Matic getting that kind of nerf because Crab Tank kind of sucked. But it didn't suck, but it was like it was a little too strong, so they even had to change a map for it. That's how strong it was. Triple Ink Strike getting a buff. I think Zipcaster got a buff recently. It's still not. I don't think it's like the best special in the game or really good. It's still good fun, and it's a lot better than what it was. But it's not like top tier special. It's more just, oh, this is a pretty cool special. And what else? I mean, there's a lot that they did. Mostly buffs though, and Umbrella or the Brellas getting a buff was pretty cool, even though it's minor, but it's still good because it's a buff. And that's exactly what the Splat Brella or just umbrellas in general needed. So they buffed Trizuka, they added Super Chump and Kraken post launch. They buffed Super Chump, and now it's pretty decent now. Yeah, it's a lot of the post launch I think they did good. Point out all the bad from it, because that's where people want to see it get improved. And there's some toxic people, but we really just ignore those. And then there's always something to improve with these games. And for the majority of the parts of the game, technically when the new maps would come out, they would be exactly what we'd expect. The only maps that exceeded our expectations was the the new maps that we got this season, Shipshape and Crableg. Both maps are fantastic in my personal opinion. They're great fun to play on. The sheer space in Shipshape is makes it so fun. The I would say in terms of doing what they're supposed to, they've done a pretty decent job at it, and they've fulfilled it. They're giving us stuff that we want. They're updating the game. They're just doing a lot. And I think they do personally care about the players, but I think when it came to designing the stages, they tried to design it around pretty much every special. And I personally do believe that Zipcaster is to blame for a lot of the lack of flank routes that we have, because majority of the places that you would expect some platforms to be, or oh, I would actually put some stuff here to help me flank around, majority of those sight lines are Zipcaster parts. Like, you can, if you notice a lot in a lot of the map design, they have specific ledges that, like, what's the point of this? But it turns out some of them even give you about the same range, or maybe even like shorter range than for the Zipcaster. And unfortunately, that kind of takes away that route for normal players to do. And so that meaning the maps were designed, it seems like most of the maps were designed with all specials in mind, but at the same time they took the main weapons and tried to alienate some of them. And I think that was pretty much the biggest flaw with the Splatoon 3 original maps. And with these new maps, Shipshape and Crableg, everybody's main weapon can play these maps. While longer range weapons feel better on Crableg, you still can do pretty well with something like a Sploosh-O-Matic or like a Carbon Roller. You can still do well with those. It's the same thing with Shipshape. It's a pretty spacey map, has a lot of long range engagements on it, but you can still do well with a weapon of your choice. And I think that's why it's been, I don't know, I think that's why, like, it's just been so, I think the post-launch stuff has been good. The maps that we get are either what we expect, sometimes worse, not really. That was at least how I personally saw it. The nerfs, the post-launch, everything, I think they've done great, but also fumbled hard on. So I would like to see, in terms of things I hope to see in the future, is I would hope to see some map changes, maybe like some regular updates of map changes. The further weapon balancing, like, I think Reef Slider still needs a buff, even though they technically buffed it before, but it still doesn't feel that good. I think Zipcaster needs another buff. There's just a lot of things that you can constantly work on, and we only get like a update every month and a half, really. So, and you can't blame them. It's the development processes, and they'll hotfix something if it's inherently broken. So, yeah, I think Nintendo is doing fine. I think that I do personally prefer the Splatoon 2 post-launch updates, in my personal opinion. I think the one map every month idea was kind of cool. I think they only did that second. I can't really remember its update cycle too well, but I don't know. I kind of prefer that. I think if they even got rid of a catalog or just repeats, if they put literally only like repeat stuff in the next catalog and maybe 25 of those things are new, but instead they gave us a map rework, extra new weapons, like new kits. They traded out all that work they would do in a catalog for other parts of the game. I personally welcome that. I think the catalog is the number one thing. Whenever, if I'm thinking business wise, I would say that the catalog is the first thing I would probably just stop supporting, especially if you're needing direction on where to go. Because again, it's not that big of a deal. We have the shell out machine, we got other stuff, and we got the stuff in Hotlantis. We don't really need the battle pass. That's probably the number one thing I would say. Like, put new clothes in it, but have everything else on the side just be like, oh, get a random title. Just, if it's still some repeat stuff, but we got more outside of that, I think I'd be okay. And I personally think the community would be okay, because not a lot of people focus on these catalogs, and even then, people usually try to grind for about that second catalog to where they get extra little those boxes outside of the shell out machine. So, anyways, I'm rambling on long enough, but I think Splatoon 3 did have a bit of a downhill, but it's currently on a rise, because this is probably the best season we've gotten. Some of the most fun weapons we've had. The 2 good maps, and the next patch not only being a weapon balance change, because last time, I bring this up every time. The last time they mentioned what they were doing with the next patch, they said strictly weapon balancing, other than adding new stuff. Like, they were like, oh, we're going to add the stuff that's for drizzle season, but then we're also going to prioritize weapon balance. And at the end of this current patch notes, it just says we're focusing on balance. And that could mean the start to changes to maps of again, take that with a grain of salt. There's no leak data proving this. There's nothing backing this at all. But the only thing well, I guess the one thing is the 2 good maps that we got this season. But even then, this could have just been a good season with good maps, and then they give us crap maps again. Or not necessarily crap, but maps that just are not as good. So, anyways, that's going to be all for today's video. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this video. Again, this is kind of a bonus Saturday video, so it's kind of long. Hopefully you stuck with me through all the way through. But again, it's the 1-year anniversary of Splatoon 3. And the one question I want to ask you after you like the video and subscribe to the channel, the number one thing I would like to ask you is, how do you feel about this game post-launch? Did your opinion change for the better? Did your opinion change for the worse? Give your constructive criticism, your feedback, or whatever you want to say about it down in the description or down in the comment section below. I personally think it got better. We've only seen mostly good, and technically at the end of the day, anything that is good anything that is new added to a game is a good thing. We just focus sometimes on the negative because either bad or it's just something we would like to see different with. Like, there's some changes or something we would make with it. Challenges being the biggest example. But again, I still think this game has only gotten better. But yeah, that's all for me. I love you guys. Have an absolutely fantastic day.